All right, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey, man, doing great.
We are bringing you this podcast, guys, to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you guys want to listen or watch this podcast. Please go like that. Show sponsors on the bottom of the screen there. We cannot do this show, run our business, do anything without those show sponsors. So please like and subscribe to those guys and use them when you can. I help buyers and sellers in this market. If you're buying or selling any kind of real estate, I don't care if it's personal home, investment deals, whatever it is, we've got a solution for you. So Dean at CrestCore.com. I have a deal of the week this week. So I'm excited about this. I'm going to give you this deal of the week. 2209 Hillside Drive. That's in 38127, one of our more popular investment zip codes. It's currently rented for $700. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and it's 1,200 square feet. Seller's asking $84,900. The market rent over there is about $1,100, $1,050, $1,100. So this one's a little under rented. I would get in here. Let's get this under contract, kind of find out what the condition is. Great seller, though, takes care of his properties. This shouldn't be in bad shape. So let's get an idea of that condition. 2209 Hillside, 38127. Currently rented at 700, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,200 square feet. Seller is asking $84,900. Positive is that it's 1,100, 1,050, 1,100 rental market. So you've got some value add over there. Okay, great. If you have any questions on there, Dean at CrestCore.com. I'll be happy to help you with that. Today's podcast. Are you in trouble? Are you in trouble? Have you been caught? Have you mismanaged? Yeah. I'm seeing way more of it. I don't take any joy in it, but I'm the only way I am, or the only reason why I might be taking a little lightly joking is because I'm calling this. I've been calling this. And we're now seeing it. You were approached this week about listing a package. I have got 2 different packages of houses that I'm waiting to list. I have more investors calling me this year to list. My listings have gone up from where they were at the end of the year. What that's telling me is not every one of these guys is like, or gals is like, Dean, I'm losing money. I'm frantic. Get rid of the house. That's not what it is. But what I am seeing is what I've been trying to tell you guys is think ahead. Get ahead of this a little bit. If you find yourself wondering why you're losing money or can't make any money, it's time to get rid of the property. Even if you own a big portfolio, I'm beginning to start to analyze some of mine and see if there's anything that is not working. I'm at that point now. So it's all right, let's try to look and see if anything doesn't make sense, and let's move off of it. Because I think once at a certain point, everyone gets to the stage where, hey, something didn't quite work.
That's right.
So my first headline is you've been caught. You have been caught. You're red-handed. It is what it is. You've mismanaged. We've all done it. I've talked openly about my first house on Battlefield Drive in Raleigh. So what does that look like? Mismanagement, not raising rent. Maybe not fully repairing. We used to know a guy. It's so funny. I never knew how he did it, but the dude would put half a roof on. Right. That's clown activity. I'm telling you. It is. So, no way under the face of this earth can you do that. You've got to fully get your houses ready. Poor record keeping. Not screening your tenants well, getting on the front of your truck and talking to them and signing a 1-page lease and hoping that works out. Bad work from a general contractor. So we're kind of breezing through these. We can go back and hit them. Delinquent taxes, mortgage payments. What else is have you, under management could you do wrong if I didn't list it?
No, I think you're right. And kind of coming at this topic, because it's like, if you've mismanaged or you're in a bad situation and need to make changes, number one, you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Been there. You're in good company right here.
Oh, I've done it.
And you can get out with the right help. That's, I think, the message that's the big message takeaway. It's like, if you've mismanaged, you can make it right by getting out. You can turn a crisis. You can capitalize on a crisis.
All is not lost.
No.
I don't, if I thought everything was lost off the first one, I wouldn't own anything. Right. Because my very first one, I boogered up big time. Right. I've talked about it. But you can recover and come out of these things. I know a guy now is getting ready to sell a package, and the first thing he said was, "I have equity. I'm going to start over."
Yes.
So there's a way to move out and get out of these. Yeah. Let's talk about what to do. Like, what are some of the things that you do now? My first question when we started the podcast was, are you, you're in trouble. What are we going to do now? I would sell them. If you can't make something work, I think and I had another friend of mine that kind of, if it's running in the red for 3 or 4 years, you need to think about selling it or taking a drastic change in strategy on the property or something. So it's like, to me, the first thing, and I'll bounce it over to you. The first thing I would do if it were me is get my records in order, meaning maintenance records, all my taxes, mortgage payments, and make sure I'm up to date, and all of my leases and ledgers and everything that a buyer is going to potentially ask me for. I would start to get some of those things in order. What about you?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I've been there. We just kind of wanted to kind of circle back to some of that stuff before of like embarrassing story. I wanted to keep a tenant in there. I thought keeping a tenant in there was the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
Right. So I locked in a tenant on a 5-year lease with no rent increase. And so that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you can put some rent increases, they call them escalators or some type of built-in increase.
For those lengthy leases.
If you're going to do something longer term. So anyway, that's an example. Repair versus replace. Yeah. I think you mentioned that roof example of repairing.
Clown activity.
Yeah. But repairing versus replacing, Band-Aids versus kind of treating the symptoms versus kind of treating the problem.
Yeah.
That catches a lot of folks. And I've done that and been there with using the wrong contractor. You getting in a situation where they were supposed to pull a permit, didn't pull a permit, code comes out. You have to undo the work and then redo it. So you end up paying for it 3 times because you paid to get it done, you pay to get it undone, and then you pay to get it done again.
It is a painful experience. I've been through it more times than I care to admit.
Yes.
I've avoided it recently because of my hard, expensive lessons learned.
I
mean, none of this. I guess that's important to say. Like, we're pretty open with this. You're being pretty vulnerable now. I've done the same thing. Yeah. Like this isn't. We don't come on this podcast talking perfection.
No.
Right. I think part of this is to expose ourselves to help you avoid some of these mistakes. And a 5-year lease without a rent escalation is a mistake.
It's a mistake.
That's I wonder how much, and without getting specific, I'm sure it ended up costing you a couple $100s a month.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and then
over a period of time, it's thousands of dollars.
It adds up.
Right.
And you're right on all that and kind of moving it into what you need to do. And that's where I was going with this is like, hey, if you're mismanaging, we can help. This is the episode to help provide knowledge. If you haven't mismanaged, this is the episode for you because you can learn how to avoid some of the pitfalls that we've made that you're seeing people. Point. So it's always a good episode. It's a good learning lesson to help you stay on the straight and narrow and stay on that path.
And to finish this podcast, right? I mean, like instead of just to stay with this, this makes the most sense.
So I was trying to think about it, Dean. I bet you've sold over 200 properties for me.
Over the years? I guarantee you I've sold over 200.
Over 200. Mm-hmm. And I've probably sold another 400.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and thought, and I was like, you know what I haven't sold? My winners.
Never.
No, I've sold the losers.
Yeah.
I've sold the ones that I've mismanaged.
Yeah.
So what is that number? How embarrassing is that? So the point being that, hey, you come to a crisis and it's, what are you going to do? Are you going to kind of capitalize like that guy you just talked about? I'm going to get out and then I'm going to get back in. Or are you going to kind of let that thing take you down and wash your hands and just walk away, kind of, take your toys and go home and never come back again? No. You're just going to regroup.
And sharing that information is unreal. I mean, because I'm telling you, to hear that validates today's topic to me. It does, flat out. You watch this podcast because you're in trouble, or you watch this podcast because you're not in trouble. All the info is relevant on both sides of the table. And if you're on the side that where you've, messed up a few of your homes, you just heard him say he sold hundreds. I doubt every one of those were mismanaged, but maybe in some way or shape, form, or fashion, right? Mispurchased, something didn't settle right because you didn't keep them, right?
That's exactly right.
So to hear somebody they've sold that many and to be in a great situation now, it's like, you can get out of 3 or 4. Yeah. You can get out of 10. You can get out of 20. I mean, the time, though, is now to sell these things when this rate is coming. I mean, I'm just telling you, if the rate begins to shrink down dramatically, these prices are going to go up. So yes, I don't know when and if that ever comes. I think we're going to still float. But yes, this is great. So after improving records, to me, it's updating maintenance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got your record straight. Now let's go to the house and see what can I do throughout this home. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't need to spend any money because you're in trouble. But what can I do to even just broom sweep? Broom sweep. What can I do in here? Is there a fresh coat of paint? Is there anything in here that I can do from a maintenance standpoint? Do you have outstanding maintenance requests? That would be one of the first things that I would go and update the home and get everything in the best condition that you can. Yeah. Get the tenants to clean incentive. Like, that's something I just kind of thought, like, I have tried that and done that before. Yep. Some tenants you can write into the lease that you've got to, professionally clean the home on the way out.
I've heard of that, seen it.
Yeah, that has been done. I've got several that are on that program right now. So connect with an agent to get some pricing. Obviously, shame on you if you don't use the brokerage here at CrestCore, but no, get some pricing and get a valuation on the property. Find out where it's worth. If you've owned it for 5 years, the value is going to be different than when you bought it. If you've owned it for 2 years, it's going to be different than when you bought it. So I would suggest getting in touch with me, Dean at CrestCore.com. I'll help you with the valuations of what comes to it, but understanding your product and what you have to sell in its current written condition with your maintenance and your records, and then its current physical condition that you can, kind of verify and make sure. The next one I've got here is list on the MLS. Yeah. I'm here to tell you that I've seen shifts in this since I've been selling this exact product since 12. With you. So I've seen a bunch of shifts with this. When I first got in this, it was no MLS properties. It was all wholesalers. And man, they were pinging properties. They'd hit you in the head. If you weren't looking upright, they'd hit you right in the face. So then it shifted and we went, oh man, it's all the MLS. It's like, hey, deals are coming from the MLS. Wholesalers can't get them. It's just as the market goes. Now we're shifting back, right?
It's off market back. Now it's a pendulum swinging.
It is. Now we're going to go back to a little bit of an not an off market slowdown, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's MLS now. Now it's the place to be.
MLS is a place to be right now.
And why I like the MLS, you can talk about why you like it, but I like the MLS because it's got if you need to sell a property, it's got the broadest reach, which at the end of the day is probably going to get you the highest price in the quickest amount of time. So it's going to send, fancy terms, but the MLS is going to syndicate out to, think of like
Zillow, Realty.com, everywhere. It goes everywhere.
It just goes everywhere. Otherwise, you have to go to those places individually. Yeah. So the MLS is going to send it to all of those places where you're going to have investors looking at it. But it's also on the MLS where the agents are going to primarily be looking. Yes. So you're going to get all the investors looking and all the agents looking. So you're going to have more eyeballs on your property by listing it in the MLS.
Listing it, I want to say this too, and this is very important coming off of that and building on to listing on the MLS. Listing on the MLS with the tenant in the home is okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe we even make one of our shorts on this, but listing a home with a tenant in the property is common practice. We do it in Memphis all the time. There's no sign in the yard. There's no lockbox on there. The buyer pool understands we've got to get this under contract first. Yep. Budget in some repairs, but this is a common practice. So if you're sitting there listening, you're saying, well, Dean, I'd love the MLS, but I've got a tenant in there. Common practice. It doesn't matter. I sold 2 last week with tenants in them. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then and the buyer, you don't get scared as a seller. Don't get scared that your tenant's going to get suspicious or something. It's just an inspection.
That's it.
You're just like, we're just setting up an inspection to come look at the house,
which is common practice.
Which you should be doing every quarter anyway. But that's another
one.
But so it's just an inspection. The tenants don't run off. They don't. They're used to it. It's common.
And they have tenant rights here.
Yeah.
So the leases stay. So what I mean by that is if a new owner comes in, the new owners have to honor the lease. And so the tenants have got to stay with it as well. Talk to your banks. Last thing on kind of what to do is talk to your banks. It's okay that you tell them you're in trouble. They're not going to act any differently now versus later. There's a threshold that you hit with your banks before they're going to pull the trigger on taking them back from you. So communicating early and letting them know what your plan is key. I'm talking key. If you plan to either work with them later or you wanted to get out of this situation at all, you have to communicate.
Yep.
Tell them, I got 3 more payments.
Yep.
Can we adjust the rate? Can we refinance? Can we do something? You need to communicate with them and let them know what's wrong or what's going on. Hey, I just talked to Dean. We're going to list these properties. We're going to sell these. These are you know what I mean? You need to let them know where you stand, what you're doing, and your efforts to make it right.
Yeah. I had the same thing. It's like, if you're in trouble and you want to remain in their good graces and get the best favorable treatment you can, then you have to communicate with them.
Yeah.
It's the key. And you're going to be able to navigate that situation better being open and honest and kind of telling them, because they need to have their eyes wide open. Because if you give them a problem at the 11th hour, there's nothing they can do. If you tell them early, they can help you. There's all kinds of ways they can help you refinance it. They can help you short sell it. They can help you do the deed in lieu of foreclosure. They have all kinds of options before the worst comes. So communication's key, man. You nailed it.
I tell you, now that I'm sitting here and we're about to end this podcast, that might be the biggest point to take away all this. Maybe just communicate with your banks. Let them know what's going on, that you're not giving up on this scenario, that you're trying to work with your local professionals to try to either right the ship on the current portfolio or move the whole thing.
Move the whole thing and then
regroup and restart. I mean, I guarantee you, if you can get out, a bank would rather you sell everything, get their money back, and then rebank you. You do a different strategy and you can keep going. They would much rather hear that and be listening to that versus, you come in and set a bag of keys down. Guys used to do that.
Hey man, I am the beneficiary maybe of a lot of that, because people used to do that.
Just drop the keys off.
They'd be like, I'm done. And it's just a shame, man.
Let's avoid that. Appreciate you guys listening. Right. Next week, we're going to talk about wholesalers and how to work with wholesalers. So we look forward to that. See you guys next time.
Bye.